Well, hello, and welcome back to my channel. I am your host, the Dakota Kai Guy, also known as the Well Hello Guy, and the man of many suspensions. Now, let's get right into this video. This is how I would book the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble match, which just so happens to be this Sunday. Now, keep in mind for this fantasy booking that only 12 of these women are actually officially confirmed to compete in the match, and for the other 18, I kind of just had to guess and put in the most suitable and realistic competitors. So yeah, a lot of them are interchangeable, especially the ones that don't score eliminations. They're kind of just there for filler. But without further ado, let's get into the Royal Rumble match itself. We start off with number 1, and it happens to be NXT's Rhea Ripley. And she is accompanied at number 2 by none other than SmackDown's Bianca Belair. Now, these two women kick things off. They do some chain wrestling. They're trying to get the upper hand on each other. And then, the counter starts counting down. 10, 9, 8. It hits 0. And you hear the music of none other than Charlotte Flair entering at number 3. Now, this captures Rhea Ripley's attention. Obviously, there's a lot of tension there. Rhea Ripley feels like Charlotte Flair robbed her moment, right? There's a lot of story and heat and tension there. So Rhea Ripley focuses her attention to Charlotte Flair, and the three women are battling it out. There's no near eliminations yet. They're still kind of just wrestling, trying to get the upper hand. And then number 4 comes out, and number 4 happens to be Billie Kay. So immediately, Rhea Ripley turns her attention to her and eliminates her so effortlessly as soon as she enters the ring and stares Charlotte Flair right down, as in, come at me, right? She's putting herself out there. She's setting the bar. Now, the 3 keep wrestling, and then number 5 enters. Number 5 is Natalya. Natalya comes in, and Charlotte Flair retaliates, tries to one-up Rhea Ripley, and eliminates Natalya in a very similar fashion almost immediately after entering the ring, and it's back down to the 3 we started with. So then, number 6 comes out, and number 6 happens to be Dana Brooke. Again, this time it's Bianca Belair trying to show that she's still involved in this because clearly Rhea and Charlotte are very focused on each other rather than Bianca. And then number 7 comes out, and number 7 is Lacey Evans, a person Charlotte Flair has been having issues with. So Lacey Evans enters the match, manages to dodge an attack by Flair, and just decks her with the woman's right. Now that'll take Charlotte out for a little bit of time, and this is where more people start entering the Rumble, and it becomes more Rumble-esque. So in comes numbers 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, right? That's going to be Lita, Liv Morgan, Naomi, Ruby Riott, and Raquel Gonzalez. I chose Lita just because I feel like, obviously they like to bring legends back for this thing. There's no real reason behind it. I just feel like, if someone's going to come back, it might be Lita. She's come back before, just for the Rumble. So that's why she's there. And this is where things start to pick up a little bit. Raquel comes in and she starts to clean house a little bit. She's starting to pick up the pace. She's knocking people around. And she goes on to eliminate the Riott Squad. Not at the same time. She does it separately, but she eliminates them consecutively. So she scores her first 2 eliminations in the match, and those 2 are gone. Number 13 then enters the match, and that is Peyton Royce, Lacey Evans' tag team partner. Now they work together. They try to eliminate Naomi, who is returning in this Rumble match. And initially I was going to have her eliminated rather quickly, but I figured if she's going to return, she's probably going to be given a significant amount of time to do some Naomi-esque spots like she did in the last couple of Rumbles. So Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans try to take out Naomi, but she does one of her save spots, and she ends up saving herself. Royce and Evans continue to work together, to try to give themselves an advantage of sorts, and they end up eliminating Lita together. That's pretty massive, that's a pretty massive thing to eliminate Lita. And they do it in a very convincing fashion as numbers 13 and 14 and 15 rather, Toni Storm and Tamina enter the match. Now, Gonzalez and Tamina, being the 2 big women in the ring, have an intense stare down, because WWE loves to do those types of angles where the 2 big women meet face to face and have some intense sort of tension-raising stare down between them. And now Peyton Royce and Lacey Evans try to take advantage, but they manage to fight them off, and Tamina ends up just chucking Peyton Royce over the top rope. So Gonzalez and Tamina end up still brawling with each other, and they both get each other over the top rope, but Gonzalez is able to get the upper hand and manages to knock Tamina off, and she is left standing as she eliminates Tamina from the Rumble. But she looks right into the fist of Lacey Evans as she gets decked by a woman's right, eliminating her from the Royal Rumble, avenging her partner Peyton Royce. Lacey now turns around and is hit by a spear from Charlotte Flair, who up to this point has kind of been just laying around recovering from the woman's right that Lacey had hit her with. Charlotte Flair then just tosses Lacey out as a little bit of revenge, and Lacey Evans is eliminated from the Royal Rumble. Now, by now, number 16 has entered the match, and number 16 happens to be Reckoning. And Reckoning tries to put up as much as a fight as she can, however, she ends up being taken out by Toni Storm, who in turn is taken out by Naomi. Now, these aren't instant eliminations. I don't feel the need to explain every single little maneuver and transition that there is in between these types of things. So, they are eliminations. So number 17 and 18 make their way to the ring, number 17 being Mandy Rose, and number 18 being Shayna Baszler. Now, Baszler having her issues with Rose and Brooke on Raw, as you would have seen if you're paying attention. She immediately targets her and tosses her out. She eliminates Mandy Rose pretty simply. And then, Belair and Naomi are going at it. They're exchanging some very athletic moves. They're showing off, they're doing their thing. And Belair manages to almost eliminate Naomi, but she saves herself again, only to find herself being eliminated by a brutal knee strike from Shayna Baszler. So she scores 2 consecutive eliminations within the span of about 45 seconds. So now we are down to 4 women at this point, and that being Ripley, Flair, Belair, and Baszler. Now, Flair and Ripley are still locked onto each other, and they're still focused on each other the most rather than the other competition. So Baszler ends up attacking both of them. The 4 women are going at each other. There's some near eliminations around, going around. I don't know what I messed up my words. You know what I mean. So now numbers 19 through 21 will make their entrances, that being Ember Moon, Melina, and Mickie James. Now, these legends are interchangeable with anyone, really, because, again, I don't really know who's rumored to be appearing the most. These are kind of just, again, the legends are more so just filler to be participants in the Rumble rather than actually contributing to the story. But, being the legends, the people that are eliminating them are presumably getting massively put over, in a sense. Mickie James ends up getting tossed out by Shayna Baszler, whereas Rhea Ripley and Ember Moon have a very intense stare down, and they have an interesting exchange of maneuvers, where ultimately Ripley gets the upper hand on Ember Moon. Bianca Belair then manages to eliminate Melina. So that's a pretty massive elimination for her, especially being in there since number 2 and is still hanging in there. Now, as this happens, number 22, Nia Jax, enters the Royal Rumble match, and she begins to help her partner, Shayna Baszler, in attacking the other 3 women. Now, why they're still a team, I do not know, but for some reason, WWE wants to keep them together for some ludicrous reason, so for this, I guess they're working together because they are partners to some capacity still. So things start filling up a little bit now. Shotzi Blackheart comes in at number 23. She tries attacking Jax. That's not a very intelligent move for her, and she ends up getting crushed by her. Not yet eliminated, but Nia Jax pretty much is just tossing her around in the ring, making her essentially her bitch. So they're all brawling with each other, and then, the next 2 competitors will come in. Number 24, Nikki Cross, and number 25, Alexa Bliss. So Shotzi Blackheart and Nikki Cross try working together. They're targeting Nia Jax, but, Jax has Shayna that has her back, so, that's not going to end very well for either of them. So Nia Jax at this point gets tired of just tossing Shotzi around, so she decides to discard her over the top rope and eliminates her from the Royal Rumble match, whereas Alexa Bliss eliminates her former tag team partner, Nikki Cross. And as you can imagine, there's going to be some tension there, and there's going to be some little interesting little sequences they're going to have in there. Now, the next 3 competitors will enter this match before anyone else is eliminated, those being number 26, Bayley, number 27, Beth Phoenix, and number 28, Aaliyah. Aaliyah, of course, being accompanied by Robert Stone as a part of the Robert Stone brand, which is how she found herself into this matchup, because Robert Stone managed to score some sort of deal that got her in such a favorable position and into the match at all in the first place. Now, Beth Phoenix goes for a clothesline on Aaliyah, but she manages to duck underneath, pulls the bottom rope, and sends it over top. Now, Aaliyah has the impression that she just eliminated Beth Phoenix, but she did not. She's celebrating very prematurely. And she instead turns around into a very focused Alexa Bliss. You can see the look in her eye. She's still the twisted Alexa Bliss that she's been for these past few weeks, and she just easily tosses her over, a petrified Aaliyah, over the top rope to eliminate her. Now, everyone else is still brawling, trying to get the upper hand on each other, trying to eliminate each other. And this is where Nia Jax, out of absolutely nowhere, decides to turn her back on Shayna Baszler, hit her with a Samoan drop, and throw her over the top rope, betraying her partner and setting up an implosion on this tag team, which is hopefully what happens in real life, because they shouldn't be a team anymore. But just as this happens, Lana's music hits. Lana is returning at number 29. And now she's making her way down to the ring, and Nia Jax hears this music, looks directly at her, and is infuriated. Because as you all know, Nia Jax has made a tradition of putting Lana through announce desks. Being fixated and so distracted by Lana, and the fact that Shayna Baszler is fuming at ringside, being just being eliminated by her tag team partner, she's not paying attention to what's going on behind her. So Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley all manage to work together to toss her over the top rope, just as Lana is on the apron to pull the rope down and manage to fluke her way into assisting an elimination. Now, Nia Jax is infuriated, and Lana technically hasn't entered the match yet, so she picks her off the apron and smashes her through an announce desk. Because, they have to. It's obligatory now. So Lana's going to be incapacitated for a little bit, but she still hasn't technically officially entered the match. Bayley then takes this moment to capitalize on an unaware Bianca Belair and tosses her over the top rope, as their rivalry will still be going on, and Bayley will most definitely still be playing mind games with Bianca, and she will be laughing in her face at the fact that she just ruined her chance to win the Rumble, as Bianca Belair has been in this match since number 2. Now the timer counts down, number 30. Who could it be? None other than a returning to in-ring action, Sonya Deville. Now this brings us to our final 7 women in the matchup. We are down to Charlotte Flair, Rhea Ripley, Bayley, Alexa Bliss, Lana, Sonya Deville, and Alexa Bliss. Did I say Alexa Bliss? I don't know. But those are our final 7 women. Right, Beth Phoenix. That's the other one. That's the person I didn't name. Beth Phoenix. Those are our final 7 women in its Royal Rumble match. Bayley manages to use her heelish tactics to pull one over on Beth Phoenix and eliminates her from the Royal Rumble match. So now we're down to 6, and Bayley turns around and meets Alexa Bliss, and she is very creeped out because, again, Alexa Bliss has this weird, eerie look in her eye, and her gaze is just so off-putting, and Bayley is just startled by this. She is put off, and, she's taken aback, and Sonya Deville takes this opportunity to capitalize and eliminate her from the match entirely. Alexa does like a creepy little wave at Bayley, to kind of set her off, get her all distracted and disoriented, if you will. So by this point, Lana has been slowly recovering. She's making her way back to the apron to officially enter this match, and Rhea Ripley, who is going face-to-face with Alexa Bliss now, is unfazed by her weird mind games and off-putting gaze. Right? So she just tosses her towards the ropes, and Lana, being in the most convenient position she could possibly be in, pulls the ropes down again and manages to fluke her way to a second elimination in this matchup. Now this is the final 4 of the Women's Royal Rumble match. You have number 1, Rhea Ripley, number 3, Charlotte Flair, number 29, Lana, and number 30, Sonya Deville. Lana being the weak link, the other 3 realize that, and they kind of gang up on her, right? And ultimately, Rhea Ripley just tosses her out with ease and scores another elimination. So now, we're down to 3. These women have intense exchanges, back and forths, etc., etc. Charlotte Flair will end up hitting Rhea Ripley with a big boot, kind of setting her down. Sonya Deville will attack her from behind and try to score an elimination. And almost get Charlotte over the top rope, but instead, Charlotte Flair manages to reverse it into a Hurricane Rana, which in turn sends Sonya Deville over and out. And we're now down to the final 2 of the Royal Rumble match, Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. The 2 women who have been in it from the beginning, essentially, and they're going face to face, and they have a lot to say and a lot to give. Now, Rhea, realizing that Charlotte is over the top rope and pretty much hanging on by a thread at this point, she goes and tries to attack her, but Charlotte manages to capture Rhea and tries to do the same thing that she just did to Sonya Deville and the same thing she did to Shayna Baszler in last year's Rumble to win by taking her out with the Hurricane Rana. However, Rhea Ripley manages to find her footing and lands on the apron safely. Now at this point, they're exchanging some blows on the apron when Rhea Ripley manages to lock in a riptide and slams Charlotte Flair back first onto the apron, and Charlotte Flair rolls over and falls onto the floor, and your Royal Rumble, your 2021 Women's Royal Rumble winner is none other than Rhea Ripley, getting her revenge on Charlotte Flair. But that is not where this ends, right? Because as Rhea Ripley is having her hand raised high in victory, Charlotte Flair rolls back into the ring to shake her hand and congratulate her, as through this amazing display of determination and persistence, she has earned her respect. Now, however, instead of just accepting the handshake normally, Rhea Ripley just pulled her in and decks her with a clothesline, right? And you can hear her shouting things about Charlotte still trying to steal her moment and get in her way and devalue her efforts and things like that. So she grabs a chair and she proceeds to beat the absolute living shit out of Charlotte Flair. And that is your closing shot of the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley standing tall and effectively turning heel. And this isn't where this ends, because Charlotte Flair, in turn, is effectively becomes a tweener, right? As now she's going to be even more fixated on Rhea Ripley. And she's going to do whatever it takes to get to Rhea Ripley. So this is what's going to set up the betrayal of Asuka, right? Not necessarily because Charlotte Flair is turning heel, but because she wants to get revenge on Rhea Ripley. So she'll betray Asuka for the tag team championships. Presumably it's looking like it's going to be Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce winning the belts, but I don't know. That's not really important to this storyline. What is important is that Charlotte Flair is going to betray Asuka, and that is going to set up a triple threat at WrestleMania for the Raw Women's Championship, where Rhea Ripley will become your new Raw Women's Champion by pinning Charlotte Flair, getting the ultimate revenge. So yeah, that's my fantasy booking. I hope you enjoyed. That's how I would book it. It makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of things, fantasy aspect of this thing. All the numbers and the people that are in it. It's a lot of uncertainty, but I feel like this would be very interesting if they did play it out like this. If the Ripley and Flair were entered very early on and they kind of were locked onto each other throughout the entire match, and then lasted all the way to the end to be the final two, and Rhea Ripley managed to get the upper hand on her. I think that'd be pretty cool. So that's what I want to happen, and that's how I would have booked it. I had many ideas in mind, many different Final Fours. At one point I was going to have Baszler in the Final Four. I had many different outcomes planned, but essentially this is what I ended up deciding on. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share with your friends. So, thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.